What are you doing, New Year's? New Year's Eve.
Is that a song you're making up, or is that just a New Year's Eve song I did not know existed?
No, there's a New Year's Eve song called What Are You Doing New Year's Eve?
Oh, is that it? Mm-hmm. In that tone, or?
Well, I wouldn't pay money to hear me sing it, but there are artists out there that have done recordings.
Thankfully, that's why our podcast is free.
That's right.
You can sing all you want to.
Things you will hear in this New Year's Eve podcast. Nikki wanting to bring back DDR.
Hey, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
One of our great listeners took care of that and sent it to me.
Yep. Superintendent Pooper makes his first appearance.
The Super Pooper.
Segeant Skipper. I have the most expensive coffee that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a poopy podcast because remember the pooping woman at
Starbucks.
Tim Hortons.
Oh, Tim Hortons, the one in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, we watched that video, and that changes something inside when you've seen a human being do that. It's
really
like,
does.
I know they blurred some of it out, but like, you know what's going on, and it's really hard to recover. And now when you say that, you're like, I automatically am rewatching the video in my mind.
Yeah, you don't forget it.
You don't.
It's with you forever.
Forever and ever
like,
and
it's
ever.
always with you after that.
So maybe we even say this in the podcast, like, oh, you need to go watch the video. I might take that back if you haven't seen it, or if not, we warned you. It'll never go away.
Okay, so something else that comes out in this podcast is another favorite moment of mine from the year, and that is the moment when Nikki and a lot of people admit to snacking on vitamins.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, when I would eat the vitamin gummies.
It's in the podcast.
Hey, it just, takes the edge off when you're hungry at night and you don't want to go to the kitchen.
Takes the edge off. And something
Your body
else.
doesn't know.
Remember the 30-year-old that got evicted?
Yes. Does his story start
He's in here.
Oh, this is a really good podcast day.
Oh, guys.
Yay, all these good memories. Yay.
Well, we hope you have a great New Year's Eve. And remember, tomorrow's New Year's Day. You don't have to start your New Year's resolutions tomorrow.
No.
That's
Wait till
for
next
later.
Monday. I'm sure
That's
it'll
a good call.
it'll really work then.
Good call,
Wait till
Nikki.
we come back, okay?
High five. It is the riot.
One day, a heroic time traveler will go back in time to make sure none of this ever happens. Until then, it's the worst of the riot 2018 on Radio U.
If you were with us earlier, Obi did a riot control with Beat Saber, which is kind of like a DDR.
Wait, did you say TDR?
Yes, I said DDR.
Max!
Hey!
Let's max!
So you also did that for Obadiah Plays if you go to our Radio U or our Radio U Riot Facebook page, but it's like DDR but with lightsabers.
It actually is, and it's great.
But when I watched you do Obadiah Plays, it really made me want to go find out how to play Dance Dance Revolution again.
Well, you know what, Nikki? I'm glad you brought it up because
This is all DDR music.
it is. Like, I have had a similar problem. I had DDR Max on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox, and then they put it out on the Wii,
and
they've never put it out again.
it's gone.
Unless, was there,
No,
I don't think, was there an Xbox 360 version?
Well, I looked because that's what Eric has at home. He has a 360. So I thought, well, I'll buy it because I only have a Switch and an Xbox 360. There are some DDR games, but first off, they're extremely expensive. And then you need the dance pad as well.
Yeah, you do.
And there's some different variations of the game to where some people believe it's like, oh, this is the best one, or this one doesn't have the songs that you might remember from DDR.
Well, that's a big problem right there, is that depending on the version you get, who the heck knows what songs you're going to get. And the quality of the dance mat can be a
is
thing.
different too.
So it looks like they did put out DDR for the Xbox 360.
There's a couple versions.
I see a couple here on eBay, though.
I looked on Amazon, and I think the pad itself is like $30, $40, and then the game itself was, how much were they charging? 40, 50, 60, sometimes up to $100.
If you're willing to do the eBay thing, like I'm seeing it here for between 15 and 20.
It's a little cheaper.
So that's not so bad, but it doesn't come with a mat, so you'd have to buy your own dance mat.
Does anybody have DDR in a closet somewhere?
Well, here's the other thing.
Does anybody?
Here's the other thing that I looked at, though. I found a website that they sell DDR mats that plug in via USB for the PC.
But I wasn't necessarily wanting to play it on my laptop, though.
Well, I mean, all you would have to do is run video out to a TV.
Yeah, I guess I could.
I mean, your computer would just become a.
True.
Of course, then there's one.
And it seems like I'm adding a lot of wires.
There's a little legality involved.
I know, I understand that, but
I don't want to be the one to bring that up.
I guess I have to keep looking, but I was going to go to a used game store, or
that's a possibility.
I don't know. Is there garage sale, like someone's mom's like, what's this? And you had it back when you lived at home.
It really comes down to, how much do you want to invest? Because if you wanted to go that route, we could go pick up a used PlayStation 2, probably about $50.
Yeah.
Find the games. That will be harder than you think it will be. But we could find those and then get some dance pads.
I feel like we're spending too much money at that point.
I don't see how we get into this for less than $100, if not more.
But I have the 360, so can I just if I just focus on that version, I need a dance pad and a game.
Then I think we could get you into that for about $50.
$50?
I think.
All right.
So does that seem worth it?
I guess it does, but I want to make sure I'm picking the right game. Because then when I read reviews, people were back and forth on the more reasonable game. People did not seem to like as much.
If you want my opinion, the PlayStation 2 games are the best.
Those are the best.
DDR Max and DDR Max 2, I think, are the best DDR games. And I just don't understand
why they're not capitalizing on that.
I know. I was just thinking, I don't know if maybe there's just not a market for it. But it seems to me that if they would put out some sort of DDR Ultra whatever on modern consoles, it seems like there would be enough people that would be interested.
I even asked Eric, why can't I just download the game through Xbox? But he said he didn't have that. And
yeah, it doesn't.
They're not dating anymore. And it just seems like everybody's mad.
Well, and the other thing, too, is this was back, DDR dates all the way back before the DCMA and before MP3s.
Really?
And so if you go way back, that was in arcades, I think in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's actually really old.
And we just didn't realize it.
And so a lot of the licensing deals for the music that they signed back in the day no longer apply. It's
now,
a whole thing.
How about we look at buying the physical game system, from the arcade? I wonder if anybody's selling those.
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
I'm almost there anyways. If I'm at 100.
Well, let me tell you what. Right now, I can get you
we'll look it up.
an arcade reproduction metal dance pad unit.
Yeah.
For about $700.
Oh, not ready to do that yet.
All right.
But if anybody sees anything, will you let me know?
I'm you guys be on the lookout and help Nikki?
I just would like to start DDR again. And it's one of those things I have to watch myself. I get a memory of I had a great time trying it once, we used to play. And I'm afraid I'll be disappointed when I just, buy all that stuff and then I'm done 10 minutes later.
Like a Mario Galaxy or something?
No, I love that game. I do. But...
Did you play it for hours and hours and hours after you got?
I had to borrow a Wii. I don't have a... And moving on.
The riot made a lot of people laugh in 2018. Sure, it was mostly people laughing at them, but those laughs still count. It's the worst of the riot on RadioU.
You know what happens when you get a job? You have to go in and take a drug test. Most times before
Depends on where you're working at.
Yeah, it's not always going to happen, but a lot of places do ask for a drug test first. And that's what happened to Angelique. She was actually on her way down to the clinic to get a drug test. And while she was on her way, she stopped in at a 7-Eleven. And you know what? I love 7-Eleven. We don't have a 7-Eleven here.
Not within the route of work.
It's not close. There are 7-Elevens around, but it's not like Florida where every 5 seconds you're at 7-Eleven. And the double gulp, those are people that were paving a way for us. A 64
Pioneers.
Ounce. Yes. Yeah. Come on, 7-Eleven. I appreciate what you do with the double gulp. So Angelique stopped off. Now, we don't know if she was there for coffee or taquitos or a double, I don't know what she was getting, but I do know that she had a little something she was microwaving.
Okay.
And she stopped in, she put her cup in the microwave, and the employee on duty there heard a loud popping sound and walked over, and there was a very signature smell in the area.
Oh, I know it. I can guess it. I can guess it.
I see that hand.
I can
see that hand, yeah.
Was she cooking meth? Was that the popping?
You know what, Nikki? This is going to be so much worse than that.
Is it? One of her 1 or 2s? Oh, is it?
Yeah, remember, as you'll recall, we were talking about what she was on her way to do when she stopped at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
She's on her way to take a drug test.
Well, was she thinking if she cooked it a little bit, it would cook the drugs out?
No, it's worse than that. Or maybe not. But what it comes down to is she would have failed the drug test, so she got some clean urine to bring with her. Well, when you go get a drug test, one of the things they test is the temperature of the urine.
So she had to warm it up?
You can't have the urine be room temperature. It's got to be body temperature. And that's one of the ways that they know, like, hey.
Gross.
So she stopped. She's like, well, this is room temperature. So she stopped there at the 7-Eleven to microwave the urine.
But she warmed it up.
Microwave the urine.
You never said that.
Don't miss the phrase, okay? That's the phrase that pays. Don't forget it.
I'm
Microwave the urine.
So then that way it would help her pass the test.
Yes. So what ends up happening is the person working at 7-Eleven calls the police, and they track her down to the clinic where she's going to
take the drug test.
And she's just like, what are you guys talking about? I cleaned everything up. There was no problem.
Gross. Can you imagine you using them? Don't use the microwaves. Don't use them.
Well, see, I actually feel like that's the real moral of this story. I mean, I guess the obvious moral is don't do drugs. The less obvious moral is if you are doing drugs, don't use other people's urine. C1.
Or
stop doing drugs.
The other lesson is if you happen to use the microwaves at any convenience store, maybe you should not use them.
That right there. The lesson that is for me, and I think for Nikki, is don't use the microwaves at any convenience store. So, like, maybe you're stopping off at the BP,
and your
the
coffee's
Duchess
cold.
station. You want to just
warm it up a bit.
Zap that coffee. You know, you could be not standing on lightning. You could be standing in urine.
Total Riot Oreo consumption was at its highest level yet in 2018. Looking forward to a double-stuffed new year. It's the worst of the riot on RadioU.
This guy, what's his name? Where did he go? He's a school superintendent, Thomas Tremaglini. Thomas makes $150,000 a year.
Thomas should not be doing this.
I want to get it out there because it's the one fact that I keep thinking to myself, this guy makes $150,000 a year, and he is the district superintendent of Kenilworth School District in New Jersey. He was arrested at 5:50 a.m. last Monday, for public lewdness and defecation.
So basically, that if I remember correctly, the school had a problem with someone pooping at the school.
They say the people that work the grounds at this particular high school say that someone has been pooping on or near the track for months.
And they were trying to figure out.
They find it every day.
Who this was. And you're thinking, well, maybe it's a student, or I thought
a vagrant.
At first, like a teacher or something who was mad at something.
Somebody who at least like worked or interacted with the school.
But they were very surprised when they found out that no, it was the superintendent. They caught him. He was the one.
Now, he is not the superintendent of this school district. Mm-hmm. He is a superintendent of another school district, but he lives 3 miles away.
From this one?
He would go out and go running every morning, and, you know, running jostles things. So he took it upon himself to have a little moment every single morning there at the track.
I don't understand how someone could do that.
I don't either.
I have no idea. And this is not our first pooping story where someone is doing that out loud. I just have no idea.
Hey, listen, you know, you run and you have occasion to go to the bathroom. My thing is maybe we could just, I don't know, can we put a porta potty out there?
I'm sure there are. If it's near the track, I'm sure there's bathrooms of some sorts. It's just sometimes runners or people maybe get a kick out of it.
You think that's what it has to be that, right?
I think it does. And it goes deeper. There's something wrong.
He's like, you know, being a superintendent's really hard work, despite the fact that I make $150,000 a year, which to Obadiah sounds like wealth untold. And
so the superintendent, though, he has not been fired. He's on a paid leave of absence, which hurts even more.
Well,
they're saying that they they can't really fire him.
I did a little looking. Well, here's the thing about being a superintendent. Couple things here. First off, he's contractually obligated to go on a leave of absence. Like when
vacation.
If he's on any kind of investigation,
sure.
That's the rules for his job.
But you're paid while you're being investigated.
Yes. The other thing is that as a superintendent, I would say it's highly likely that he is a contracted employee. And that means that unless, depending on what his contract says, I don't know. It's like, hey, if you face criminal charges, we can release you. Like, it will depend. But they may even be in a position where they have to buy out his contract.
They're saying that because of state law prohibits, he cannot be fired because he has tenure protection during the life of his contract, which goes through June 30th of 2020. So he cannot really be fired. That includes a suspension without pay in the absence of indictment or tenure charges. So he's still good for now. He's there. But even though everybody knows it's him and he's probably humiliated, he still will probably stay in that position.
How can you, I don't know. I'd be getting a lawyer because it's one of those things where at some point, I would argue that this guy can't do that job. Because of what has happened, he is no longer able to function in a leadership role in that district. This explains it. As a matter of law, someone like this cannot be fired. State law prohibits it because the contractual rights he has under the statute of it, everything that he has done and he faces charges for, do not rise to the level of indictment. Right.
So it's not enough. To us, it should be enough. But we've all been told, it's very hard to fire someone in a teacher position or like that.
It all comes down to the fact that he has a contract.
Yes.
He's a contracted employee.
If he wasn't, then maybe so.
Wow.
There you go. So they're going to have more action later. There's a hearing on May 30th. But if you're like, who's this guy, the superintendent, the pooping by the track guy?
Okay, all right.
Everybody was talking about it over the weekend.
Let me ask you this question. All right. You and I
have no respect for someone who does that.
Okay. But what if you and I come in tomorrow morning and there's Michael's picture in the news everywhere? He's been picked up for pooping on the walking track near the studio. I can't
understand it. I cannot look at a person like that. I have no way my brain does not comprehend why someone would do it. And they got him on surveillance video, so.
To be honest with you, I think I would harass them so much they'd quit. That's what I think.
It would be the only way out.
2018 was a year full of highs and lows. Here's an example of one of the lows. It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
Nikki, how much would you pay for a finger kiss?
A finger kiss?
Mm-hmm.
What is a finger kiss?
Do you know what that is?
Someone kissing your finger?
Me either. I had to look it up. No. It would be someone putting a finger to their lips, but then they would come up and put the other side of their finger to your lips. So it's like you're kissing, but you're not kissing.
Well, why wouldn't you just kiss? Is it like you don't know the person as well?
You're paying for this finger kiss.
I don't know. Just very uncomfortable with it.
Because this is what is the new hotness in Japan is that they have in J-pop, Japanese pop music, which is big and runs under very different rules than we do. It's
they have a lot of groups of a lot of members,
right?
And they'll do they'll have signing events and hug events or handshake events.
Well, okay,
and so it's like service for their fans, but it walks a fine line between what we think is acceptable and sometimes not.
So here's what happens: you go to this event, and they say there's the mainstream stuff, but then they have what they call underground idols. So that's what this article is about, is how at these underground shows, they really make their money on the fact that they're willing to get way more up close and personal with their fans than what some of the larger bands are.
So say you wanted to shake someone's hand, it'd be like $50, something like that. So you're saying this is a way to kiss your idol, but you're not really because it's got a finger between it?
Yeah, and you have to pay a little extra for the finger
kiss.
And here's what I love. You have to pay by the minute, but you...
I understand what that means.
I understand. You can't pay for a block of time. So, you pay, let's say it's $10 or $15, whatever it is.
Does it count wait time, in the line?
No.
Okay.
But that's the thing is you get your 60 seconds, then you have to go to the back of the line and come back.
Start over again?
And people do it.
Weird.
Like,
I saw a documentary on it once. It's a different world.
yeah.
It's a different fandom.
I've thought about this. Like, I've got two things on this. I've been to conventions where people sign, you have to pay for an autograph.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, it was $100 to get into this convention, but it's $80 to get this guy's signature. I understand why these people charge for their signatures, because here's what happens. They sign something for you, it suddenly becomes worth 4 times more money, and they never see any of that money, and that's part of their livelihood. So I get it. I feel like there's an element of it that really sucks, where it's just like, really? Like, you can't just for your fans take a picture with them? I get it, though. Like, I understand that when they sign something, like my toy, it's now an autographed toy, and I get more money out of it, and they don't get that. I get it.
It might not be a lot of money, but it just
Depending
has
on what
more
it is,
value.
whatever. Okay.
That is their career.
But here's the other side of it. There's that. But, like, I couldn't pay somebody. I couldn't pay for affection on any level. So the idea of, like, hey, pay me and I'll be your friend.
Yeah.
Or, take that as far as you want to. But, like, I couldn't handle that. The whole time I'd be with that person, I'd be like, you're just here because I'm paying you. Get out.
Well,
you suck.
I think, though, in the context of, you're at a signing or a fan event.
Yeah.
But you're not, like, going shopping or hanging out with them.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, trying to put it in my context of, like, you know what? I'm so tired of going to the movies by myself. So I'm going to pay $30 to have this person
movie signing event.
Come to the movies with me.
It makes people feel better. Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, is my brain would never let me enjoy it.
Sure.
Like that thing where you're like, I feel so much better that you're here. The entire time my brain would be like, look at you. You suck paying this person to sit next to you. What are you doing? I wouldn't be able to relax and enjoy
the handshake.
I wouldn't be able to enjoy my finger kiss.
It just depends. It really depends. Different society with it.
Last question, Nikki.
Yeah.
Who would you pay to finger kiss?
Oh, I'd be too
Colin Firth. There
embarrassed.
it is. It's done.
That's fine. He's a distinguished man.
Is that the right
man.
Colin?
It's the Chris's you mean sometimes.
Oh, that's right.
And Chris Pine.
Your other movie
Chris
boyfriends.
Hemsworth.
Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth. Yeah.
But I still won't see Star Trek with a minute.
It's fine. Nikki's like, while you're finger kissing me, what if this...
That just sounds so terrible.
What if this hand was on this bicep?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Never mind. No one's paying for that.
One day, when historians look back on the year 2018, they'll wonder how we let it go on for so long. It's the worst of the riot on RadioU.
I shouldn't complain too much, because in the middle of all this craziness, there was one more thing of crazy. I was in the middle of working on... I signed for a loan yesterday. Like, there's just all this stuff going on.
You had travel you were working on. It was just not easy.
It was insane. And then I got this text from Eric where he was like, hey, look at this TV. I bought an open box TV yesterday.
Yay!
And sold my old one.
Oh, you sold it? I saw
sold
you. When I saw you that you posted it, just like moments after, I thought, that's that initiative that I see right there. You got it up and you got it sold.
Well, you know what? I was in the middle of working on a loan and travel, and I've got a relative that's sick. Like, there's all this stuff going on, and I had my phone right there, and I literally just snapped a picture of the TV, and took 3 minutes to post. Like, I was like, there it is. It's done.
Bye-bye TV. Hello, new one.
Yeah, I sold it. A lot of people think I sold it too cheap, but I felt like it was a
good deal.
It was inexpensive, but I didn't pay very much for it. See, that's the thing. You hear me talk about buying TVs, but I'm always cheap. And so I sold this one cheaper, and now, paid around $400, and I did pretty good.
You did great.
I did
Shall
pretty good.
we say what size?
Do it!
70 inches.
I got a 70-inch
you've
TV.
always wanted one.
I did. So, always since I got the 60-inch. But
I think Eric is deep down just glad it went to a good home, because I passed on. I said, no, we don't need a new TV. We're good. And he's like a little disappointed. And then I think that's when he sent it to you and was like, all right, now we know it's going somewhere.
That was one of the things I asked him. I was like, wait a minute. This deal is crazy. Like, why aren't you getting it?
The shutdown on that one. I just didn't need it. Well, that was the mature part of me coming through, and I don't know why.
If you want to know the truth, there's part of me that when it was all done, like when the dust settled last night and I was laying in bed, there was part of me that was like, if you hadn't been so distracted by all the other things you were doing, do you really think you would have done that?
It was such a good deal.
It was stupid good.
It would have been bad if you did not.
I felt good about it. I still felt good about it because, again, by the time I sold my old TV...
Not much difference. There was hardly any difference.
I know. I really didn't put very much money into it, and it's a 4K 70-inch TV.
And you wanted one of that size.
I haven't even... I turned it on. Eric was there, and again, he came last night. I was in the middle of all this stuff, so it was like we loaded it in, turned it on. Of course, nothing in my setup was working right, so we finally got something showing in 4K, and it was like, well...
There it is.
All right,
You'll
works.
You'll appreciate it later when things calm down.
I know, when life calms down, but I still...
He said it was almost too big for the stand. Like, you're going to have to get a new one.
Well, I'm going to have to either get a new one or figure something out.
Yeah.
Because it literally comes to the feet that hold it in place, like come to the edge of the glass that is... It's that old entertainment stand I bought from you like a million years ago, but it just barely fits.
It fits. It's snug.
So as Eric told me last night, he's like, it'll just take one crazy VR moment from you and this thing's on the floor.
So just put it to the wall or something or figure something out.
Thought about mounting it. I don't know. I've never done that. But yeah.
That or you can strap it to the wall. Like you could just take the back and strap it that way just to at least make sure.
I don't know what I'm going to do, but something. And again, I have barely touched it.
Oh, but 70
but it was
inches.
Cool.
Oh, so proud. It was so big to where Eric and I were like, which car? How can we get it in? What can we do?
Yeah, Eric actually brought it to my house because he was like, you won't be able to get it in your car.
It just wouldn't fit. He had to look up measurements for different cars, and he's like, nope, we can get in this, but that's about it.
I got to figure out something nice to do for him. I was going to buy him lunch, and then I thought, maybe if the next time we go to the movies.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because, summer movie season's coming up,
It's almost
Nikki.
here. But he was so excited. That's why he was like, no, I'm just taking it now. Because that's what he would want someone to do for him when it comes to a new TV.
It was something. And again, I'd like to tell you how awesome it was. I watched 10 minutes of 30 Rock on it, and then I was like, I got to go to
You're
bed.
like, I got to go back to work.
But it's tall. Those people are very tall. It's crazy.
Remember last year when you thought the riot couldn't possibly be any worse next year? You were right, but of course that doesn't mean they've gotten any better. It's the worst of the riot 2018 on RadioU.
I've never been the kind of person, I'm not a practical joker. And that's funny because I think when people hear me on the radio, they think I am. In fact, I've gone places where people are like, hey, come here, we're going to do this, and this.
They thought you'd go right along with it.
They assume I'm 100% on board, and I'm just like, that's not really my kind of humor.
You're a responsible, funny man.
Well, and one could argue that I'm actually far more destructive because I make a joke that sticks with you for years instead of...
Hurts you at your core.
Just a one-time thing. And I own that responsibility, and I apologize for it.
So
I'm
does this
trying
guy
to get
say
better.
he was doing a prank? Because I don't know.
Okay. We've got Sergeant John T. Skipper.
29.
Oh, my gosh. This guy deserves a...
Sergeant Skipper.
Sergeant Skipper, he should have a sitcom. What did Sergeant Skipper do this time?
Well, he did something bad.
Skipper! Right?
Yes, I can hear it.
All right. That's the guy who's in charge?
Yeah.
Get in here right now, boy!
Get in here, Sergeant Skipper. Poor guy.
Right? Well, Sergeant...
But he was bad. He did something bad.
Well, they say it was... maybe saying it a practical joke is being a little too nice about it.
This is a whole different level.
But here's the deal. What year was this? Back in...
2016.
2016, they were doing a practice deployment of Humvees from a C-130.
This is in Germany.
So think, what was it? Furious 7? Or was it... I think it was 7, where the plane slows down and then a little parachute opens and it pulls the car out of the C-130. The parachute deploys, then they just land safely and boom.
That's it. So he was in charge of ensuring that the parachutes were properly set up and everything was ready to go so that when the Humvees came out, they landed and it'd be fine. Mm-hmm. But he did not, and some of the Humvees ended up just crashing down because the cords were cut to them, so they just fell right on out of the plane.
So when the video of it happening went viral, and you can hear people laughing the entire time. And so that's when the rumors began, all right, this is no accident. Like, this has happened. So they investigated it, and they found that, yeah, this guy in the plane cut the cords so that the parachutes would not deploy properly, and they crashed and blew up. I call it a practical joke because, around the whatever, you're like, I tied those two things together. They'll trip. They'll this, they'll that.
Not for the Humvees.
It's the same mentality, but it's a loss of perspective. It's like, yeah, I'm sure the military won't care that, those Humvees. The Humvees are worth $220,000 a piece.
So this guy destroyed $660,000.
3 Humvees.
During the airdrop because the parachutes were cut. And I don't know. I kind of got the feeling like maybe he lied a little bit during the investigation.
Oh.
Trying to get out of it. But they did find him guilty.
So apparently they say that as far as sentencing goes, he got off pretty easily because he got a reduction in rank and a dishonorable discharge.
A bad conduct one.
Yeah, bad conduct, dishonorable discharge. That's the kind of stuff that can come back to haunt you when you're applying for a job.
He could have been sentenced to 10 years in prison because of the destruction of not just property, but government property.
Mm-hmm. So he ended up getting, I guess he was charged with willful destruction, and they dropped it to negligent destruction. And then they gave him a lighter sentence in the middle of that too. I just think, what, it's fine. He can stay in the military. He just has to pay back the $660,000.
I mean, every paycheck, you just take a little bit out of it. A lot of people commenting were just saying he really got off easy.
Easy, yes.
And he should have been in jail for some sort of time.
That's just a sign like it's peacetime. In war, that dude would be like,
bye-bye.
That'd be a problem for him right there. So
for Sergeant Skipper!
Skipper! Fred.
I want that to be a sitcom.
Well, you know what? It practically writes itself. In it all for the pilot episode.
We have the whole thing
We have the story breakdown now.
Taken straight from the news.
We finally got around to pouring over all of your complaints from last year, and these are the riot bits you mentioned the most. It's the worst of the Riot 2018 on RadioU.
Skipper!
That's our previous story.
Hey, I want you to know that off air, Nikki and I broke down a whole sitcom. We've got 4 characters that are ready to go for Sergeant Skipper.
And then I was like, why are we doing this? We can do this so well. Why are we?
No, all right, let's
break. Why are we not?
I wasn't even going to, but let's break it down. If you didn't hear the story, Sergeant Skipper is the name of the guy that intentionally cut the parachute cords on some Humvee parachutes that were supposed to happen. It was just a practice thing over in Germany, U.S. military.
It was an airdrop in 2016, and they found him guilty. He was doing it as kind of a joke, and that was a lot of money, so he got in trouble.
All right, so here's the idea for our sitcom. It's so easy, but it's going to work. So Lieutenant Skipper was responsible for cutting the cords, and he gets taken to, he's in court. It's all going to happen. But, of course, he's obviously a laughable, funny guy who's just trying to have a good time. And the judge sees that. And so he makes Lieutenant Skipper Sergeant Skipper. And which I know, NCO versus C, whatever.
It's just sometimes
don't think too hard.
Don't overthink our premise for this.
Okay, so it becomes Sergeant Skipper, and then Sergeant Skipper he's got a choice. He can go to prison for 10 years, or he can be stuck on this whatever military base where he's like the janitor now.
He's like the go-to guy to do all the things, fix everything.
Right. And so then while he's there, the general on the base, his daughter, he doesn't like him because they went to college together. And for whatever reason, he's a general now. And this guy's, there's a rivalry there. We'll figure that out.
There's a clash.
And then the general's daughter comes home from college, and she was a 5th-year senior. She had a hard time finding a major. She hates her dad.
Lost.
She hates her dad, but she has to come home because she's out of money. And she hates the military, but she has to live on base. And she's the ironic love interest of Sergeant Skipper because
they clash, but yeah, they really like each other.
Yeah, and she's really upset because he's too much like her dad, but she really likes him. And boom, now we just need some supporting characters.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? That college thing, that's not the general. That's somebody else that's in charge of Sergeant Skipper.
Okay, sounds good.
He's captain whatever. He's always done everything right, and he can't believe that he got stuck with Sergeant Skipper. because he's been putting up with him his whole life.
Do you see how he just, TBS would be all over that.
It's easy.
It's just easy to do.
And we need a couple more supporting characters to roll in there. A couple more other misfits, because not all of the problems can come from Sergeant Skipper, because we have to like Sergeant Skipper, even though he's an idiot. So, we've got to have an episode where he covers for somebody.
Sure.
He takes the fall for somebody else.
There could be some mysteries on base.
Absolutely.
And he goes and figures it out.
Who stopped up the general's toilet?
Well,
Boom.
I'm thinking even deeper than that. We got a multi-episode arc of story.
Yeah, I like it. But see, we got a whole show. Sergeant Skipper.
If we pitched a show, we could have our own company.
Have you seen the stuff that's on YouTube, Brad?
I know,
it's at least as good as that.
It's better than that.
It's at least as good as that.
I feel like we've got a whole package.
They brought back Roseanne. This runs right after Roseanne. No problem.
It's on Saturdays. Spend your Saturdays with Sergeant Skipper.
Perfect. I love it. And then when it gets successful enough, there's an animated spinoff.
That would be perfect.
All right.
Okay, well, that was all we were doing.
You're welcome.
Now you're like, is that a real show or not? You won't even know. You're telling friends about this new show, Sergeant Skipper, that you were watching.
No, they said it's on after Roseanne.
You're not understanding. We're just making it up.
If it's louder than it has to be and way worse than it has any right to be, it must be the worst of the Riot 2018 on RadioU.
Yesterday, I had the most expensive cup of coffee that I've ever had.
And this was brought to you by Hudson.
Yeah. I don't know what exactly the brand was, but here's the deal. Hudson's mom, she works for a company or a coffee shop or something where she gets a bunch of free coffee. Mm-hmm. And it's not always just here, these are the beans we used, but you can use them again. It's not like that. It's new coffee. And so it was whiskey coffee. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to put a little coffee in my whiskey. Or whiskey in my coffee.
It's whiskey barrels.
So the idea is they take these beans and they put them in whiskey barrels. And I guess they sit for a year or whatever, and then you buy the beans. $35 a bag.
That seems a lot.
Which means that's the most expensive coffee I've ever had.
You've never had the Civet coffee or that sort of type? That tends to be a little bit more expensive.
I feel like at some point we just need to do that, though. Let's get the Civet Poop coffee.
But that tends to be what people bring up as one of the most expensive ones. This, though, at $30-something a bag, that's a lot.
Became the most expensive coffee I'd ever had. And kudos for Hudson for, one, being willing to share it, and two, for French pressing a cup for me.
He's been doing that in the break room.
He French presses his coffee every day when he
comes in.
Seems
like every afternoon he has this little French press setup going on.
Which is cool, and I appreciate it. And I appreciated the fact that he, shared his coffee with me like that.
So you just had it straight? Nothing else in it?
No cream, no sugar. It didn't need it.
Was it too strong or bitter, or was it okay?
Nope. No. He did tell me that he made it not as strong as he normally does, because I am known as a coffee wimp around these parts, which is funny because if you go and spend some time with my family, they think I make my coffee way too strong.
And you're the one who's been into coffee for quite some time.
So, yeah, it was fantastic. Good? It really, really was.
Well, what do you think the whiskey barrel does? Does it infuse it with whiskey flavor? Does it help with some of the bitterness? What does it do?
I believe it's supposed to give it some whiskey flavor, I guess. I don't know. I will say it didn't... I didn't feel like it tasted like whiskey, but it did smell like it. But it had a flavor. But it's kind of like when you get, Jack Daniel's barbecue sauce. There's a flavor there, but it's not like you go down to Fridays for Jack Daniel's barbecue and you're like, I need someone to drive me home.
It's not like that. I gotcha.
It was really good. The only thing I will say, and this could be unrelated, I don't know, but I had that coffee. That was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and about 6 o'clock. And I'm not making this up. Just out of nowhere, I just had insane heartburn.
Really?
Yes.
Probably
and
that.
I wonder if it's the coffee.
I'm sure it was.
I was just sitting on the couch, and I was just like,
that's the whiskey barrels coming back at you.
I was just like, oh my gosh, I really don't feel good. Like, I don't know. What is the deal? And
Did you ask Hudson? Did he get heartburn or anything?
I haven't asked him. And that's not, just to be clear, that's not like a regular thing for me. It was a weird event. And the only thing that I had to eat in between the coffee and that was I had a turkey sandwich.
No, it had to have been the coffee.
It had to have been the coffee, right?
Oh, great, too. You're like, hey, how was the coffee? You're like, great, but I don't think I can have it anymore.
Well,
it's like I got heartburn.
To be clear, I don't think he wanted to share any more of it with
Warren,
me.
You don't know I'm going to buy it.
I think that was it. I think you get a taste of it, and then you have to start buying your
listen
own.
to your body, okay? It was telling you something.
Something was not working there.
It wants to go back to the cheaper coffee.
Yeah, but man, be that as it may, it was delicious.
Good.
And it's got me thinking I should get a French press.
I think you should.
I think I should, too.
You got everything else. You got like a little You got your cold brew.
You have everything else. This is the only thing you lack.
You got your little Keurig. You got your coffee pot. You got your everything else. So, why not add to it?
I need a French press, an air press. There's a few things I need now.
Well, I'm sure if you buy a kit, there's probably something that comes together.
Yeah. Maybe I should do that.
Get a French press or use his here.
Yeah.
Make a little monthly donation for the use of it.
Yeah. You know what I'll tell you what I should really do. Like, real talk is just find something to buy today.
If you found it.
If I could spend some money on something and just get that feeling back.
In a 4K Blu-ray, you're set.
Not to get too political, but isn't it time we set term limits on morning show hosts? It's the worst of the riot 2018 on RadioU.
It's time.
Okay. This is disappointing. Like, this is going to make you be like, why are there human beings like this?
I don't think so. I think people are going to feel vindicated as Americans because it sounds like an American story, but it's a Canadian story.
This is not from one of us.
And it doesn't get a whole lot more Canadian than being at Tim Hortons.
There's a problem. And this lady I see in this article had previous problems with this Tim Hortons. Mm-hmm. And she had been denied entry or service because of past problems with her.
Yeah.
And they also say that the police have known this lady before. So she is someone who's caused problems, but I don't know if it's ever been in this way before.
So she walks into the Tim Hortons. She wants to use the bathroom. We don't know what they say, but they tell her no.
And you can watch security video of it. So, man, they're arguing. Arms are flying.
Yeah, she starts freaking out. And then she has, like, some leggings and I think maybe a T-shirt or a tank top on.
And then something wrapped around it.
And she's got, like
a jacket.
Something wrapped around her waist. So in the middle of the yelling, she takes off her jacket and she lays it down.
She goes and grabs a couple of napkins.
And does she grab the napkins first?
I think she grabs a couple of napkins and then she backs up. So, like, if you're ordering at a Tim Hortons, there's like a divider. She backs up to the divider, puts her body against it.
And then she pulls her pants down.
It is.
And she... Oh, yep, she does. She grabs some napkins. There's the napkins.
She knows what she's doing here.
She was really, really thinking ahead about what she was going to do.
One of the Tim Hortons workers
I thought she put the napkins down on the floor. No, she puts them on the thing. She drops her pants, and she pinches a loaf, drops some kids off at the pond,
Super Bowl?
Takes her team to the Super Bowl, but on the floor?
On the floor right there, the Tim Hortons. Mm-hmm. It's not, and you're like, that's...
Number 2?
That's horrible. Oh, it's not the worst part.
Then she picks it up and throws it at the guy.
At the poor workers. And then she takes napkins and wipes everything and then throws the napkins at them.
Throws the dirty napkins at him, too.
While screaming. And at first, when you texted this to me, I was like, oh, there's not video.
It's not real.
And there is video. And
There's
it is
video
real.
Of the
Someone
whole thing.
did this. I felt so bad for the crew. Like, can you imagine being there and someone's doing that to you? Like, what do you do? How do you cope from that or recover?
Well, I'll tell you what I do. I'm going to start eating at Tim Hortons 3 times a day, waiting for this to happen.
I would never know what to do. I'd be like, I filmed it, but I can't even believe it.
Wait, hang on. Maybe this guy. No, he got his stuff.
Not for that. So
all right, we got to come back tomorrow.
This poor guy. We posted it. If you want to watch the video, they blur it out, but you know what's you see what's going
when
on.
Something drops and suddenly it's blurry. You know what's going on.
Oh, it's just life changing. Life changing. I just don't understand how someone's like that. I can't even comprehend it or get it.
The problem is that Tim Hortons had to burn that restaurant down and start over. They have to start all over.
That's like you bring in the cleaning crew, like if someone passes away and it was
yes,
terrible. Like
that's
you need
exactly
to
right.
bring
you
in
have to
a
bring
professional.
In the dead people, crime scene people.
That sort of thing to make that able to be open for the following day. So, yeah, the video is posted if you want to see it. Obie's favorite thing, too, and mine as well, is someone on Reddit called it.
No, it was Fark.
Oh, Fark. They said, Horton hears a poo. Get it? Because the Tim Hortons and the thing. It's great. That's someone has a talent for writing right there.
So good.
So there you go. That's your Tim Hortons story for today.
I'm just telling you right now, you have to see the video and just make sure you finish your donuts first, because once you see it,
I feel like I should go get a donut because I need to support.
You need to be supportive?
Because Tim Hortons has been through a lot with this.
I mean, I want a donut, but I'm like, I normally get
I'll go through the drive-thru,
I normally get a double chocolate donut from Tim Hortons.
No, don't be gross.
I'm not being gross. That's what I get. It's a chocolate cake donut with chocolate icing on the top. That's what I get. And I'm telling you, I can't eat that anymore.
You can't do that.
Yeah, that's over.
I hate critics. Just let people like what they like. Who's to say what's good and what's bad? Okay, actually, this is bad. Like, really, really bad. It's the worst of the riot 2018 on RadioU.
Hey, does anybody know the password to our texting program?
So annoying to get into this program. And it shouldn't be. I've got my first incorrect one. We'll figure it out.
It's good.
I can still see everybody's text messages.
Well, I know you can, but I can't.
You can't. Well,
so
Megan,
Nikki's like, did you see that text from... No.
Earlier, Obie was talking about he took a vitamin this morning and it feels a bit like it's stuck. Still in you. Does it still feel like it?
Oh, it just doesn't feel right in there.
It just is wrong.
So I hope it's not still there.
So Megan said, oh, no, don't be scared. Dad tends to get food stuck in his throat. So when that happens, a Coke will usually do the trick. A guy we know went to the ER and the doctor walked it in, handed him a Coke, and then that was it. It takes care of it. So you need a little carbonation.
Oh, I need some soda.
Yeah.
And it really is medicinal.
Oh, and there's some in the back. It's Pepsi, but I'm
Diet
assuming,
Pepsi?
I don't know if it's regular or diet.
All right. Maybe I should get some just to,
Just
clear
to make
things
sure.
out.
I think
It's
it'd
medicinal.
be safe. It'd be safe.
It's medicinal.
So thank you, Megan, for texting us.
Yeah, I also love that apparently your dad and I both have pill problems. What is... Do you... Like,
Is that the first thing that goes?
At the home, they give your dad a Coke every day with his pill that's baked into a brownie. Is that... Did anybody...
People started giving you peanut butter or cheese wrapped around it.
Did anybody else hear that? Because I heard it.
You're just like Megan's dad. Congratulations.
Me and Megan's dad.
Now-
both choking on our vitamins.
I think she's just telling you there's someone else in her life.
I got to get my back pill. I got to get my back pill.
Well, no, because then a guy that the family knows had to go to the ER, so they had the problem too.
Well, okay, so then maybe that person wasn't lying to us about her hospital stay. Maybe
Seems
she
like
really
it's a common
did.
problem.
So she should have been drinking soda. She should have been having more of that.
Now, Shamika had a great idea. She hates when that happens, so takes gummy vitamins instead. There's no choking on that. That won't get stuck there.
My problem is I'm afraid with those gummy vitamins because, with gummy bears, you're like, well, I'll just have a couple more. Pretty soon, you're very vitamined.
Okay, I promise you. I had a thing of gummy vitamins at my nightstand.
Yeah.
And one night I woke up and I was like, gosh, I am so hungry.
You did not.
Like
You
a
did not.
couple just because I didn't want to get up. Like it's fine. It won't kill me. It's like a little snack. So I don't keep them there anymore. Yeah, you're right.
I'm more worried about you now than I've ever been. I mean,
It's fine.
I'm more worried about you than I've ever been. You woke up in the middle of the night. You didn't even...
Hungry. I was hungry. So it's fine. It's like a little snack. It's fine.
We need to start putting something by your bed, okay? That also...
Some crackers or something, don't I?
That also feels like something for an old person. Like, all right, we put some of Grandma's Nella wafers next to the bed so she won't eat her vitamins in the night. If you don't put cookies there, she'll eat all the vitamins.
My stomach hurts.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Well, I mean, I can't be the only person to do that.
All right, you know what? That's fine.
It's fine.
Is anybody listening right now, have you eaten a vitamin as a snack in the middle of the night?
A gummy vitamin.
Please
There's a difference.
don't hesitate to text or call 877-2-RADIO-U.
I don't feel like we can share now anymore right here.
Have you snacked on a gummy vitamin?
I was tired. I didn't want to get up. It was right there.
Oh, my gosh.
They even make morning people want to reach for the snooze button. It's the worst of the riot 2018 on Radio U.
Do you feel like we're not coming off as cool enough? Is that your worry?
You mean what, like that guy in the YouTube video?
The Ticket to Ride one I was watching.
Man, I'll tell you what, it's getting rough.
It's about health, and
It is.
it's about...
It's important.
Earlier, Obi had a vitamin, and it's a little stuck there in the throat.
So then Shamika told us to take gummy vitamins, and then Nikki admits to the fact that in the middle of the night...
I once got hungry.
Can I ask you this? Like, when you were laying in bed and you were hungry, how long did it take you to decide to eat the gummy vitamins? Did it take like a couple of minutes?
It was like I had a genius idea. I was like, I don't have to get up. I mean, they're there.
Just eat these
If
gummy
I just
vitamins.
eat one or two, my body will think we've eaten. So I don't need to. I might have also done that with Tums. I don't want to get up when I'm sleeping. I don't want to get up.
You need to
I need a tissue. I can't share anymore. I can't share. I can't share.
You need to stop putting stuff on your bed. Oh my God.
That's calcium. That's calcium. That's good for you.
I can't even breathe right now. Oh my gosh.
You want to talk to the people?
You're snacking on Tums. The next thing you're going to tell me is that...
That's all I've got. That's all I've got.
Are you sure?
Okay. Tums, that's it.
You're not eating tissues in the middle of the night or something? Oh my gosh.
I can't continue anymore. You're going to have to talk. I got my nose.
Hey, Maggie, have you...
Yeah.
So, have you eaten...
This can't just be me.
Have you eaten gummy vitamins as a snack?
Because you've been hungry.
Yeah, I've taken it a step further, though.
Wait, what do you mean you've taken it a step further?
What else could I do?
Are you baking?
Okay, well, so I have kids, so like they have chewable vitamins, and of course they're like, "Oh, mommy, don't you want yours?" So even if I've already had my vitamins for the day, I'll be like, "Oh,
You
sure."
eat theirs?
Okay, sure. All right.
Maybe I should be baking with them.
This is so funny because I can totally relate. Like, we don't keep a lot of snacks in our house, and I have woken up in the middle of the night, like, really wanting something sweet, but we have absolutely nothing. And I was like, oh, there's some gummy vitamins. In the middle of the night, I walked to the kitchen and gotten some gummy vitamins.
You got up. She got up and went to the kitchen.
It's not just me.
I mean, I can
Those
get
are
the
enticing
bedside
little
thing,
bears.
but you walked all the way to the kitchen.
Oh.
I have to tell you. So I have never had heartburn, but my husband sometimes gets it. And, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I thought I was having a little bit of heartburn, and he had these, like,
The Tums.
I don't know, these heartburn chewy, like.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, no. So I had one. I was like, oh, I think I have some heartburn. This is weird. That thing was so delicious. I think I've had heartburn 3 times since then.
Oh my gosh. Maggie, thank you for calling.
I'm everyone.
You guys need to knock it off. You guys are the reason why we can't have food-flavored medicine.
No, we abuse it.
That diet, what was it, that NyQuil that was cherry vanilla flavored? You guys are the reason why they had to pull that off the market.
You got Dave. He said he's also had like half a bottle before of the gummy vitamins.
Dave, are you snacking on these things?
Yeah, they were vitamin C orange slice vitamins.
And so you just started eating them?
Yeah, I grabbed a handful of them.
Everybody's
didn't want to ruin my appetite and eat a whole bunch, and I just wanted something sweet, and they were good, so I ended up eating half the bottle.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, Dave.
Have a good morning. It's hot here.
What are you guys doing?
Everybody's doing it.
No, not everybody. Not everybody. Oh my gosh, you guys are weirding me out big time.
Is it weird that you're the only one not doing it?
Oh man, hey, could you pass those Tums? I'm hungry.
Oh my goodness.
The chewable ones. I mean, Nikki, you ate yours from your bedside. She got up and went into the kitchen and chose them.
I was choosing that snack.
It's like your finger paintings. People say it's good, but we all know it's not. It's the worst of the Riot 2018 on RadioU.
I was hanging out with a friend last night. She was trying to get airfare together to go home and visit. And boy, what a train wreck the entire thing is. It was absurdly expensive. Then she had some airline miles that her dad had given her, like, please come home, here, have miles, come home.
Which you can't usually end up using all the time.
Well, she was able to use them, but it was just like an absurd amount of miles to go. Like
for $10 off or
all
something.
All of it. And then there was still like a $130 fee for whatever. It's just crazy stuff, man. So when I see all of that, and then I see things like this, I'm not sure who the victim is in this story. I'm just not sure who it is. We got a man named Michael Haig. He was on a flight to Charleston.
Michael was bad.
He was bad. Okay, you know what? I didn't catch this part. He inappropriately touched one passenger.
And he wouldn't leave another one alone, to where they had to move him to an empty row. I think it was Frontier. Frontier Airlines going from Colorado to South Carolina. So he had been removed. He'd been so intoxicated. He really bothered very much so some of the other passengers. So they moved him into his own row, so he was by himself, and then that way he'd get picked up by police when he was getting off the plane.
And then this woman decided to take a picture of him, and then he started peeing all over the seat.
There's a total picture. It's like a fountain. Like, what's going on in this seat? And have you ever been on Frontier? Their seats are not like, there's not a lot of padding there. And then there's this poor guy in front. You just see his back. He has no idea the person behind him's peeing on the seat.
You know what? I don't think it would take long to figure it out. Between the noise and the smell that would soon follow, you'd figure it out.
I mean, he's just peeing.
You would figure it out, for sure.
And I feel bad for the crew who have to clean up. Like, how do you do that?
Do they?
Yeah, they have to, I think, legally.
I'm sure.
They got to put a towel on it or something.
I can think of a lot of legal things that are supposed to take place.
Just really bad. Like the one time that I was in a plane and the person in the row behind me threw up onto the aisleway. Mm-hmm. And it was as we were landing, so the stewardess people couldn't do anything because they were buckled up in their seat, and they said, well, we'll have to take care of it. And so they had to just basically throw stuff on it so then everybody could get off the plane walking over it and then finally clean it up. There's only so much you can do.
I've had that experience. They put down the towel and ask you to step over it.
Don't look, guys. Don't look.
Been there, done that.
But that poor person just got sick. This guy, he was doing that.
So my thoughts looking at this are just what has happened in my airline seat. You know, the one that cost me hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I've paid to ride in someone else's toilet in the sky. I mean, these planes are basically just big outhouses. All right. That's what they are.
Pretty much.
Outhouses with wings flying through the air. And then you have to start asking yourself more uncomfortable questions. Like, if this happened on a plane, what happens at the seat in the movie theater that I'm sitting in? What do they do? Because I got to tell you, the people, like the flight attendants, they are paid way better than the guy I see sweeping up the popcorn at the theater. And let me tell you something right now. That guy's not getting down and really giving each seat in the theater a real good cleaning. Down. Like, just making sure he's doing a really good job.
Also just makes me sad at our society at this point that it gets to the point where you're peeing in the plane. Not like in the bathroom, but in your seat.
I think this just goes to show you that society is just an illusion.
I think if we talk to anybody working with an airline, I'm sure this happens all the time.
It's so much worse. Like, there are things they're not even allowed to say.
Maybe airports should be dry just so that it can be a pleasant experience for everybody else.
Oh, What do you mean by dry?
Like there's no bars and stuff.
Okay, because like I'm fully in favor of being a no peeing zone, if that's what you mean by dry.
I just meant
great.
not adding fuel to that person's fire.
I thought they were dry.
The definition of insanity is putting the riot on again and again and expecting a better result. It's the worst of the riot 2018 on Radio U.
Here's the thing. Your parents want you to move out. Like, they haven't told you, and you're like, but I'm only 16.
But the signs are there.
They want you to move out. Right now, you're costing your parents a ton of money.
Maybe if you're still there the first time, not so much. But if you come back again.
Oh, I'm not convinced.
Then
I think, where do you think the tipping point is? 13, 14, when your parents start having those
showing
discussions?
The signs?
Where
It
they're
depends
like,
on your parents.
You know, when they're out, we could turn that room into a billiard parlor. What about a place for...
I think it depends on your situation. And I think for some parents, they like when you come back. You know, like you've been gone for a couple of years, no pressure of whatever you chose to do.
Yeah.
Not
like,
necessarily
hey,
college.
Just to enjoy being here?
Yeah, and then they missed you, and then they enjoy if you come back.
Okay.
But for this guy... there's lots of layers to this story.
Here we go.
I don't think I like this guy.
Christina and Mark Rotondo have been trying to get their son to move out.
He's 30?
He's 30. They've given him 5 written notices when he failed to pay rent or contribute to household expenses, but he refused to move. He said that his parents didn't give him enough time to move out, despite their multiple notices, and they even offered to give him money. Like, here's money. Use this to get a place.
Sure.
He's like, no, forget it. He's unemployed. Oh, man.
No, did you read the details on that?
I didn't.
He used to work at Best Buy.
Well, it says he's in some kind of legal battle with Best Buy.
He couldn't work on Saturdays, and they said he needed to work on a Saturday. And I think this is simplifying it, but basically he took them up on a lawsuit. And then he says he's too busy to kind of work anywhere else because of this lawsuit going on.
I love it. It's so great.
So I don't know if he's got...
Because I'm going to sue Best Buy over the Gamers Club thing. I don't know how, but I'm going to, which means I can't come to work either.
You're too busy to work.
I'm way too busy.
You are. So I don't think he has any other job or anything, and that's what he's doing. He's staying at home.
Well, Nikki, his job is the lawsuit. It's very consuming.
And then there's something else where he has a child or something.
Sure, he does. Whatever.
I don't know if he has a family or...
Here's a question.
That didn't work out.
When his son becomes 30 and what needs to move in with him, but he's still living with his parents, does he need his parents to die off so we can take the house or what? Because like his parents have made it. He obviously is having a little hard time getting started. So when the next generation needs to lean on him, what are they going to do?
I don't know.
Man, the house of cards is falling apart.
I just feel bad because, I feel bad for the parents.
Hey.
Again, when you watch this guy in some interviews and you read some of his stuff in articles, I don't think we'd get along. I don't understand why someone would stay when they're being asked to go. I cannot understand that mentality.
Right there. If you
Squatting
said to
stuff
me,
does not make sense to me.
And it's one thing if you're like, there are reasons why there are laws like this that exist, and I get that. And there are people that can't make it. I get that too. But he's 30. He's obviously had a job before. Like, it's hard for me to understand why. Though I will tell you, through connections, I got a chance to observe someone who was actually in their mid to late 40s that refused to move out. And I watched them get... and this was a family thing. Yeah, where they had to get all these notices and eventually the sheriff had to come out and they had to have all their stuff out. And it was like, if you're not out by this date, we put all your stuff out on the street corner and it's like, whatever happens. Crazy.
See, if that was going on with me, I'd be like, you know what? I don't think they want me here. So I think I'm going to go somewhere else.
You don't want me here? I don't even want to be here.
Fine. I would have yelled that at my parents a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh,
Not really, but if I was in this situation.
Be honest, Nikki. Did you yell that at your parents?
I did not.
You didn't?
No, I moved out when I was 18, 19?
You don't want me, I don't want
20.
you.
It was fine. Okay. But again, it depends on your relationship. I feel like there's other problems.
I love this guy
with this
so much.
guy and his parents.
I love the idea of your parents being like, you have to leave. And he's like, I don't think so. I don't think I do.
And then notice after notice after notice.
He's living
I don't think they're eating dinner together, do you?
I love he's living up in this bedroom and they keep putting notices and he's like, I didn't see a notice.
What notice? Did you put one up there?
I haven't left my room, so I wasn't able to get the
I'm
notice.
not ready to move out now.
I'm working on this lawsuit. It's going to pay off big.
The worst of the riot is over, but the fun can keep going.
Hey, I saw you checking out my goods.
Check the Riot blog or stalk us on social media.
You want to sample them? A little try before you buy, huh?
Through riot.radiou.com.